house the other day in the hallway. You're singing "Oh Happy Day."
One word prayer. Justice, where are you?
And welcome to Justice Served TV. Michael Bryant here.
And Linda Kenny Bott here. And Michael Bryant, why am I wearing green? Okay, now I know it says there's a word on
Is that a rhetorical question, or you going to answer that?
You know, when I was told never you can wear sequins and stuff when you're doing TV, it's splashy and stuff. But I have to because I'm celebrating the great trial attorney who we told you was great months ago, you know, and that he was going to win, and we were all behind him, and we love him, and he was wearing green the day of the verdict, and you'll never guess who it is. You'll never
I don't know.
And so that's why, even though it says Jets, Doug, it says Jets, but it's like an homage to maybe the West Side Story for a case involving gangs. But I met
your name when I was a kid, so it's good. We're good.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm tired. I'm busy. You know, what's different now than before? I'm just running around to more different courtrooms now than before.
I heard you either acknowledged somebody had posted this or reposted it. It was somebody that said something about being an attorney is every day saying that after this case is over, I'm gonna take a break until you die.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. There were a few good quotes that I saw people post on Twitter that I stole or reposted, and that's certainly one of them.
How many judges have asked you to come into the court? And I know when I was trying a big high-profile case, the next day I had to be in another county for 2 hours away, and the judge said no, and it's a criminal trial, and you're going, and you're doing it, you're finished now with the other case. I was exhausted.
Yeah. I mean, I had a judge that wanted to call me in this week, and somehow we talked him out of it. But I've got a trial Monday in DeKalb County that I'm going to be doing. So, and I think I'm going to guess every other week for the foreseeable future, I will be in trial somewhere.
And your wife and daughter and your dog, grand dog, thought that you would be home, relaxing, having a good time, enjoying the holidays. Boy, are they surprised.
Yeah, my daughter sent me a picture of her out in Aspen skiing today. So I'm hoping she's having a good time with my grand dog out there and my son-in-law. But here I am in court, and that's fine. I enjoy it. It's all good.
It's all good. Yeah, it's all good. So Michael has a bunch of stuff he wants to ask you. And
I just have a
couple of questions before we go. I'm going to ask you about the case in the news that's in the news this week. But
maybe a new client for you. There is something we talked to Max about the other day, and that was what I thought was the bizarre unfolding of the verdict itself in the YSL case against your client, Mr. Kendrick, and also against Shannon Stillwell. So I just played that for him, and I wanted to get his reaction as it unfolded. So we'd like to kind of do the same for you, and and ask you if it kind of was a surprise to you as well in the way that it did unfold. And there's a little bit of setup to this, which we can talk over here. But did you expect it to come as it did?
Hi, good morning.
You mean the way it was read to me?
Yeah.
I was expecting that in the least. I thought we would at least be able to stand first. And I expected a count by count version of it. So I think you could see that I wasn't quite prepared to respond when it came.
Well, it was almost like you were expecting some introductory remarks, something.
I mean, it's something.
All right, good morning, everybody. We have a verdict. We have two verdicts. And I do not want there to be any kind of disruption or
Here's why I hesitated a bit
regardless
after
of
she
what
read
this
it.
verdict
One of the
is.
reasons is she didn't want an emotional.
So, can we get the jury out, please?
And also, I wanted Shannon Stillwell's verdict to be read before I responded. I didn't want to jump up and down and be elated just to see Shannon have any guilty verdicts come back that would be substantive.
See, now, Max here is clearly, checking out the jury, checking faces.
I'm chill.
Try and pull from that what we can. And you were doing Wordle. No, you were doing something on your phone.
I wasn't tweeting because I got in trouble for that once, so I wasn't tweeting.
So what did you see from the jury as they entered?
they entered with poker faces, which is kind of how they were this entire trial. I guess I later learned watching some of the jury interviews that they were told to maintain a poker face throughout the trial, which is interesting. It's a whole
All
other
right,
issue.
thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I understand that you all have reached a verdict. Mr. Foreperson, is that correct?
I still feel
All right,
butterflies
and was it
watching it on
unanimous?
replay.
All right, and this verdict
But
has
it ends
been
well.
filled in and signed and dated by you, correct? For each defendant. All right, and I noticed that Mr. Kendrick's verdict form is dated December 2nd. Is that because that's when you all reached the verdict with regard to him? Okay. And then Mr. Stillwell's is dated today. Okay.
That gave me hope.
All right, Mr. Kendrick,
Go ahead.
you
Go
have
ahead,
been
stand up.
found not
Stand up.
guilty on all charges.
You weren't even on.
Boom.
What?
Is that anticlimactic or what?
Please stand.
Did you process it?
Killed the drama there. I hadn't
You have been
processed.
found guilty on count 64, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and not guilty on every other charge.
Now I could relax a little bit here.
Yeah, and then you guys got your moment after this hug.
We did. We did. I think it just took us
So,
a little
ladies and
bit to
gentlemen of
process
the
for both
jury,
of us.
you are officially released from further service, and I
don't know why
cannot,
Shaq is looking so
express
chill
the
right
degree of thanks that Fulton
Yeah,
County
there's
owes
that.
you for your service.
Yeah, we got
given the
quite-
length of this trial.
What was that moment like?
You have paid
It was
close
very,
attention this entire
very-
time,
I mean, it's
and
emotional.
I
It was,
appreciate your devotion,
a relief.
as I'm
It
sure
was-
to, the parties
You
in
can
this
see the
case.
weight lift
You are
off of
welcome to
Deamonte's
stay for
shoulders
the
here. You can
sentencing,
see
or you can return to
a
the jury
lightness begin
room. I
to
would
be
like
there
to
that I
speak
hadn't
to you
seen
in just a
before.
moment, in the jury room, if you all do
Yeah,
want to.
it was just a lot.
What were
Hey,
you, if I may ask, saying to him,
Yeah.
if you can tell us? And if you can't tell us, that's fine too.
I'm going to keep that between us because
Understood.
that was a special moment for the two of us, and I want to always. I'd like to always keep that between us, but
All right, is
it
there
was a
any
very
reason
warm,
that,
heartfelt,
we can't go ahead and
loving comment. I think is the best way to put it.
And there was a moment where, I mean, you're looking over at Max, because even though there was a guilty verdict on one of the counts, in perspective, it was nothing really. So what kind of exchange, was it a kind of a knowing, like, we did it, buddy, or was it unspoken because you guys have spent so much time together?
Well, I mean, I don't think it was right then, but it was a sense of victory, of you made the right decision by going all the way to the jury and not taking a plea 3 or 4 weeks ago. Just relief. I don't even know. It's just relief. I mean, you guys have experienced it. It's just a tremendous, the pressure that's off at that point. And then I'm so happy for him, and I'm glad that I won't be second guessing every decision I made for the rest of my life.
Well, I have to tell you, the jury, when the interviews I heard, the first one, they loved you. They said, Mr. Weinstein, he was clear, he was concise, and he got everything he needed to get in, even when it got objected to and was over, it was sustained.
Well,
he got it in quickly and succinctly for us.
you guys know how that works, right? You want to get that thought across, even if it's the point. The question is the point, not the
Exactly.
answer. So you get the question out there, and I think they did appreciate the brevity, the succinctness, getting right to the point. They pointed that out in the closing, and I think they said that at some other times. And again, I don't want to take all the credit for that, because as I said before, I was able to leverage the crosses that were done by other people. I was able to leverage Max's extensive takedowns in his closing. So I was able to just focus on the key things, the big themes, at least in the closing. And then on cross, I could go right for my points. And because I think, having spoken to the jurors, I developed a bit of a reputation of, okay, if Mr. Weinstein is getting up there, we know that he is just going to make whatever the salient points, but we should pay attention because he's not going to go on and on and on. He's going to get right to it. and it's what he wants us to focus on. So I love being able to leverage that.
And the point that you just made, that I know when you were deciding whether or not to take a mistrial or not, I remember you saying on the show, you think you were winning. You think you were winning. You wanted a mistrial with prejudice if it was going to happen. But tell me about the great amount of stress that lawyers and you entertained making that decision, that you had to make that recommendation to your client as to what he would then decide.
Yeah. Are you talking on the mistrial or on the plea? Just so I'm clear.
Let's do both, the mistrial and the plea, because they're kind of related, right?
The mistrial, I really didn't let him weigh in on that. That was a lawyer's decision on the mistrial. Of course, I discussed it with him and I got his input. And there was a point here where I was seeking a mistrial, whether it was with prejudice or without, even though I believed multiple times that it should have been a mistrial with prejudice. But there was a time I was willing to take it without prejudice, because I thought that so many errors had been made that I was very concerned. And it was before Judge Whitaker took over. I think particularly as the trial went on, I really only wanted one with prejudice because we were winning. As far as the plea decision, completely up to Deamonte, I thought that it probably would have been a safe decision and it may be a good idea to take the plea. I was always concerned about the RICO, which turns out I should have had no concern about it, but I was always concerned about RICO conspiracy because the reality of the law in Georgia is it's ridiculously broad and easy to prove up. But I think what happened is the jurors' common sense took over. And the jurors said, this is, well, it may or may not be a gang. Maybe it is a gang, but they said it's not. It was interesting how they phrased it. It's not an enterprise. And I think what they meant by that was it wasn't an organized conspiracy seeking some greater overall goal. It was exactly as the evidence showed, a series of people making individual decisions to benefit, what they thought to benefit themselves. And that's kind of what I argued. I argued that in the closing. There's no conspiracy here. There's no, even and if you could show a conspiracy, there's no joining it. So anyway, I was always concerned about the RICO. Deamonte had total faith that we were going to get not guilties for the verdict from the jury. And he said, let's plow on. I didn't, I didn't do these things. I don't have anything to do with the death of Donovan Thomas. I'm not going to take responsibility for that, period. I cannot live with sitting in prison knowing I'm there because I've pled guilty, even if it's on a lesser included. I've pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter on something I had nothing to do with. And I have to be able to live with myself in that prison. And I'd rather, if a jury convicts me, so be it. It's not a proper conviction. I know it's going to be overturned on appeal, but so be it. But I am not going to put myself there. I can't live with that. And so I respect that.
He's out now, right?
No,
he's not out. What's the latest on that?
He is facing these charges that, as I've said on social media and in other interviews, if you are in the Fulton County Jail, or honestly any jail that I'm aware of in Georgia, for 2.5 years, and you are accused of gang charges, you are going to catch charges in that jail just because of the jail's inability to protect yourself, other people coming after you, wanting to make a name for themselves. You're going to pick up charges. So he picked up some charges while he's in that jail. He has not selected me as his counsel on those charges for whatever reason. I mean, he has a long relationship with Kayla Bumpus. I think she's representing him. I don't know if some other attorneys may get involved, but he has a bond hearing coming up, I believe a week from today. I expect him to be granted bond. If for some miracle I'm not sitting in a trial, trying a case, I will be present for that. And I will move heaven and earth to be there when he walks out of jail.
Yep, that'll be a moment. And thanks to a blessed mom of from Texas. Appreciate that, and
Just want to
she
show her
appreciates
love,
all that you
right?
guys have done. Let me ask you a
She wants to
practical
show, let me
question.
just say, Michael, she wants to show her love to this channel, Doug, Max Steele, and many, including to the judge,
Judge, yeah.
praying for all involved.
And I
Well-
think we can assume she means Judge Whitaker. Just guessing.
Not Judge Glanville.
No, we wouldn't be sitting here talking if it wasn't for Judge Whitaker.
Yeah.
And can I do a giant "I told you so" to all those people that have been piling on me saying how prejudiced and terrible Judge Whitaker was? I think all those people reassessing and looking back at the last 4 months see what I've been saying forever, which is that Judge Whitaker may not always rule for me, but I always know that her rulings are well considered, that she believes that they are based in the law and they don't come from any sort of bias. And I still maintain that.
I think the thing was when she first got involved and she wouldn't revisit Judge Glanville's rulings on the lyrics. I think all of us said, oh, she's just part of the, but then as it went along, it was clear that she had a total control of all the evidence. She knew the facts of the case. It was amazing.
She went back and educated herself, because that was always a concern that we had when it came time for directed verdicts, that she wasn't there to assess the credibility of the witnesses. So when I made my motions for directed verdict, and I actually filed a paper along with it, I tried to make sure that they were based in the law and in things that she would have more firsthand knowledge of. And I think that's why we got those 3 directed verdicts that we did get. But she's a great judge. I mean, she's a judge. Again, clearly I don't want to say she's an academic. She's well-versed in the law. She was an appellate lawyer prior to taking the bench. And so I attacked things knowing that she had a love of the law, and that if I could appeal to her instincts to follow the law, and you saw her from the bench, show me a case, show me a case. If you could show her a case, she would follow the law. She would grab onto that case. So she did a great job. She didn't do a great job because she was biased toward us. She did a great job because she was fair and she knew the law.
Yeah, and I think we could see as we watched
You think
her
she'll end up on the
grow in
Georgia?
the case.
Sorry, go ahead, Michael.
She was learning the case, and she had to learn something from day one. But as it progressed, I could just tell she had a firmer grasp on what the issues were, what the problems were, what the challenges were, and what the parties were like. Because that was learning the personalities was as important as anything in this case.
Right. And the people that criticized her for her, and there were people, Vera in the chat, for example, that criticized her for her, maybe some of the things that she said to Miss Love in this case. That wasn't born out of some prejudice prior to walking in. That was born of the actions of the state, and specifically Miss Love, during the course of this trial. So I don't believe any of that was from any kind of bias.
Yeah, no, I think they earned it. I think
They earned it.
They
And
earned it.
you could see, well, whether, I don't know what the state, Madam D.A. Fani Willis believed, but you can see the way they pulled Miss Love back the last 3 or 4 weeks from participating, that she didn't take part in closing, that they realized that she might be an issue for the state.
Yeah, that was just odd. It's very odd that after all of her grandstanding, that she would take such a backseat. In fact, almost she was in the trunk. She was so far back at the end of the trial.
But that was likely a wise decision, and it doesn't appear
Probably.
that she's playing any part in the trial of the remaining 5 defendants whose trial, assuming it happens, occurs in February.
Are you involved in any way in those cases?
I'm not involved in those cases. We have a joint defense agreement amongst, I guess, all, if not almost all, of those individuals.
Could you explain, Doug, what that is to people before we go on?
Sure. In a joint defense agreement or a common interest agreement, there's different versions depending on circumstance. Normally, the attorney-client privilege that we have with our clients is lost if that's shared outside of that bubble of attorney and client and the people that work with us, right? But we need to be able to share information between defense counsel. So if you enter into a joint interest or joint defense agreement, then you can share that information amongst yourselves, amongst the other defense counsel, without a risk of losing the attorney-client privilege. And it's got a lot more details that are carried within that, but that's the crux of it. So we're able to share information. So for example, Brian Steele provided advice after he pled his client out to us. When I needed assistance with respect to, for example, Mr. Huey, I would call up Carrington Matthews and talk to him. When there were parts of the case that had to do with Mr. Nichols, I spoke to Nicole Westmoreland about aspects of that case. So we continued to get assistance from other defense counsel those last 3 or 4 weeks that we needed.
Interesting. 'Cause I don't think people understand that about the
Right. So
privilege.
any of these people that call me for help, I will be there.
Well,
Yeah,
you would
that's
just
important.
you lived this case for 2 years. You breathed this case for 2 years. Somebody
Yep.
said that you should now retire from the criminal law, having tried.
I mean, where do you go from here? I mean, really, you know.
How does it get better than beating a Georgia RICO case and a murder? And I was trying to find instances where defense counsel, in civil cases, I've seen defendants win RICO cases. Maybe it's happened on a Georgia RICO conspiracy, but I haven't found it yet. And that's not because of me, or certainly not me alone. That's because we had an amazing team assembled that just fought. And we had Jeffrey Williams' resources at Brian Steele's disposal, so he could have a massive team with investigators and scour stuff. We had Max Shart, who devoted himself 27, if not 24/7, to knowing every intricate detail of this discovery and having it at his fingertips at all times. So it's an amazing victory, and one that, of course, normally you're not going to beat the state with one defense attorney against the resources they have. But maybe they made a mistake in indicting this many people and bringing so many resources together. Whatever, Justice League Unite.
I wonder if they'll learn anything from this experience. I don't have high hopes for that. Let me ask you a practical question.
Sure.
Your phone must be ringing off the hook at your office, for somebody wants a little piece of Doug Weinstein, wants, some help. How's that going?
We are getting a lot of calls, and I am trying to and I'm behind on some of them, so keep writing. I'm trying to field that, while at the same time, you would think I would be less busy now, but the reality is, in many ways, I'm actually more busy than I was before, because I'm shuffling between courthouses and I'm dealing with, all the judges calling me in for this, that, and the other. So in some ways, I'm more busy than I was before, but I'm trying to return everyone's calls. I'm trying to get back to everybody. Thank you to all the well-wishers that are sending me emails. I really, really appreciate it, and direct messages. And I'm trying to respond to all of those.
Actually, there's a really interesting question here that you can respond to.
Yeah.
Is there a way to bring charges up against Jack again in another RICO? I'm so unsure of the double jeopardy RICO laws. This is a kind of a practical question. Somebody wants your advice about that.
They cannot bring up another RICO for essentially the same transaction and occurrences that occurred here. I think we're pretty much done with them being able to bring further RICO charges for what's happened, I would say, all the way prior to the end of trial, given the position that the state took, which is that things that happened during the course of the trial could be used in the RICO. So, for example, they wanted to bring in this alleged, passing of contraband to Jeffrey Williams. They wanted to bring in things that happened in the jail. So I think he's set for everything up and until the verdict. And I can't imagine that. I'd like him to get the hell out of Georgia, frankly, after this. But he's a grown man. He'll do what he wants to do. But given their attitude towards these jail charges, given my discussions with his attorneys, and they're seeming to want to seek vengeance on him, which is, I find, to be outrageous, but what's new from the Fulton County DA's office, I just don't know that he's not going to have a target on his back in the state of Georgia.
And that was the concern with Jeffrey Williams when he played with Doug. Michael and I did a whole show analyzing his plea agreement for 15 years on probation. And I think that's why Judge Whitaker said all violations come back to her. But, she's going to move on to the Georgia Supreme Court, in our opinion. And, you don't know about this retribution aspect. People don't realize that, Doug, about that.
Yeah, it's really shameful and sad. And again, as someone relatively new to the criminal justice world, it's one of the many things that'll shock me. Maybe that'll be one of my post-Peloton thoughts from Doug about what's so screwed up about our criminal justice system. One of my more casual TikToks.
Before we let you go, and by the way, someone just asked about my jacket again. I'm wearing it for Doug. I'm celebrating his win. Because he was in green a lot the day of the verdict. He had the green glasses. I did a thing when he did the closing, he had the green glasses and the green tie on and all. So everything is for, even though it is a little sequin, a little much for a podcast, but for Doug, anything. But there's a little case in the news right now out of Pennsylvania. I guess I should ask you first. Have you gotten a call, Luigi Mangione? Have you gotten a call?
He has not called me, but I would be more than happy to pro hoc him there if he wants to give me a ring.
And then secondly, and then Michael's going to follow up. The secondly is, I had a theory about a theme in this case. How would you go about defending him, having seen what he did today as he entered for the arraignment? It wasn't really the arraignment; it was for the first hearing on whether or not he would be extradited back to New York here. And he had a little theme going on, and we'll let you know. We'll let our viewers know as soon as Doug weighs in first on what his theme would be.
Well, see, I didn't watch his theme. He had a theme.
He had a theme, right?
My theme would be for him to stop talking. Would be my number one. That's always my number one piece of advice to anyone in any situation. And I won't put it as crudely as I tend to do on Fridays. But I mean, obviously the theme has to be something to the effect of, I guess, I mean, look at what society has done to us. Look at what our healthcare system has done to us. Look at what the loss of the middle class has done to us. I mean, there's a lot of themes you can pull off, but to some degree, I'm not wild about them because they almost concede that he did it. And I'm really not there yet. I mean, I haven't seen sufficient evidence yet to say that he's done it. He has some unique features, but let me tell you what I have to tell you. I got contacted Saturday by someone that was positive that they had found the shooter here in Atlanta. And I looked at what they sent me as well as some other circumstantial evidence. And this guy looked just like the shooter too. Now, they've got some evidence on this fellow, but we're not there yet. And I'm going to say what I always say, and I hope you guys say, I'm sure you guys say it too. Let's not jump to conclusions. Remember, these folks are presumed innocent. A lot of people thought Young Thug, when they heard Fonnie Willis do her press conference, they thought Young Thug was deep into all of this. They thought my guy was guilty. Let this play out. Let it play out. That's just part of it. What's your theme? Tell me your theme.
Okay, so let me read what he said. He said, it's completely out of touch and an insult to the intelligence of the American people as he was being brought in. So that's kind of an interesting thing. My theme would be something, somebody actually just said healthcare. And that's what my theme would be. I would show all the indignities that were lauded upon him and that he was just trying to do the right thing. I mean, if Daniel Penny can be a hero, why not this man? Is it, not that I condone killing people. I don't. Okay.
Yeah, let's be clear.
But why was he targeting this person? Was there something more here that we don't know, like the sheriff in the case down in Tennessee who killed the judge? Is there something else?
The Kentucky case?
There's obviously a lot going on there if he is the shooter with this fellow, and that's going to have to be explored pretty deeply. And I don't think he should be a folk hero. I think whoever shot this person, if it was done out of some kind of righteous rage against the insurance industry, I still, again, killing is not the way to go.
Right.
I don't think it's justified in any way, but I think almost every American can understand and has had that feeling in their lives. It's why, again, I lived in a country for 10 years that had single payer government health care, and it is a truly wonderful thing. Think what you will about it. You wouldn't get in this situation, but there's no justification for this.
No.
Well, do you get manslaughter? Do you go for manslaughter instead of murder?
Of
Do you go
course.
for manslaughter instead of murder? Michael, what would you do?
Well, I was just going to say, I think good luck to both of you with those arguments. I don't think it's going to work. I would, especially since some of the more recent behavior of this guy, just when he's been moved from the cop car into the courthouse, he was screaming and yelling, and
Yeah.
during the hearing itself, and this was really just a hearing to determine whether he was going to waive or not extradition. He's not, and
No.
he started to try and say something, and his attorney, Mr. Dickey, a local dude there from Altoona, probably a wonderful guy,
Yeah.
just said to him, "Do not say a word."
Yeah.
So this is a client control issue. I think
huge.
taking it. I think going one step further, I'm looking at, is this guy competent to stand
Interesting.
trial? I
Well,
don't
you
know.
absolutely have to evaluate his competence. And I'm not sure what New York State standard is. Georgia, it's pretty hard to demonstrate you don't have competency, in a trial. I don't know where New York is.
Same thing. Do you
is
think the
it-
feds, I ask both of you, Michael and Doug, do you think the feds are going to come in with an indictment?
I wouldn't be surprised, but I think they're going to defer to see what New York does.
Yeah, I don't think they want to touch it unless there's some kind of a bad result out in New York State. I don't think they want to touch this thing. I'm sure the Biden administration doesn't want to get into it at all.
This happened, and I'm not trying to make light of all of this horrible situation, but it happened. The country is now focused on this case, so YSL has ended now for the most part. We know there are 5
Yeah.
dangling defendants out there, but there's always seems to be a case that just grabs everybody's attention and takes you along for the ride. And I just feel like this is that case. Why do you think that is? If you agree.
Oh, no, I think this case, everyone's going to be following this case. And I suspect you're going to have someone that is not found incompetent. And I suspect you're going to have, given an alleged manifesto and his behavior today, you're going to have someone that's going to insist on going to trial and isn't going to take a plea deal. So you're going to have, right? Don't you think that? I think you're going to have a trial here.
I do
And-
too. And thank you. Here comes drama. Gifted one justice served membership. We have to just interrupt
Yeah.
to say that. But I think you're absolutely going to have a trial here. I don't think he's going to take a plea. I don't think you're going to have client control. I don't see it, but
Yeah.
you
And-
know
and,
that the client controls that decision.
Yeah, it's ultimately up to the client. And if he's going to insist upon it and the evidence is strong, I mean, what choice do you have than to put the healthcare system on trial to some degree?
Sure.
I mean, he's going to insist upon it anyway.
And
Most
on the
of them.
jury, you're going to have people that have had horrible experiences with healthcare, and
Yeah.
no matter how you work the voir dire, they're going to get in there. They're going to be people that maybe would not consider killing somebody in their frustration and aggravation, but they're going to some degree, understand how it could elevate in somebody else's mind. And
Yeah.
the more we're hearing about this guy, he had his own health problems, people will understand that. Is it going to be enough to have somebody hold out? We don't know.
But I
Well,
think
we're
you have to go
seeing,
for
we're
some
seeing
kind of
right
message.
here. We're seeing right here. Look at this. Here comes drama. One of our moderators, right? Katie, one of my medications is $17,000 for 30 pills. We're seeing the
What?
frustration right here in our chat room about how United Healthcare. I mean, I'm seeing it right now. So, if I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, well, maybe we can't do worse than manslaughter here.
But I will thank and excuse Here Comes Drama, because she ain't getting on my jury. Look at that.
Yeah. But, I think this is kind of a side note. I mean, of course, as criminal defense attorneys, I'll do everything I can to defend this guy. But we can't have a society where it's acceptable to, execute CEOs because you're unhappy with the company or public policy. We've had one and maybe 2 assassination attempts on President-elect Trump. We just can't go down this road as a functioning society. So I wouldn't want to do anything to encourage vigilantism.
And there have been people that have, which is outrageous. I won't even say her name, but there is a very prominent blogger or whatever she is, and to me that's disgusting.
Well, there's stories that have run in the mainstream media that seem to excuse this, and
it's just wrong. I mean,
yeah,
it's not that tough. Yeah. It's wrong.
You cannot execute people for this. It's just you can't. But I think a jury, seriously though, it's important that they understand where he's coming from. And obviously he's had issues, personal and who knows what others, with the healthcare system. And this is out of some kind of frustration and anger. If this is the person that did this.
Yeah. No, I think we're all in agreement. I think we're all in agreement. Doug, you're just amazing. As usual, you're just amazing.
And thank you guys I have to thank you guys for your continued coverage of the YSL trial and keeping a focus on all of this, because I think it's really important.
Yeah, we felt we had to. In fact, it was our very first Where in the World is Justice road trip.
Okay. So, well, I hope you come back.
Oh, definitely. Well, it doesn't seem like Fulton County is starving for interesting cases. So,
well, I imagine President Trump's case is going to go away sooner.
Yeah. I have a feeling that Ms. Willis will come up with something else that might attract attention. We'll see.
We are interviewing one of our favorite lawyers too, and one of your favorite lawyers, Ashley Merchant, this week.
I love Ashley.
Who's in that
had
case?
A recent victory.
Myself.
But a victory against Fonnie doesn't seem to matter because Fonnie just thumbs her nose. So we can't wait to kind of get into that.
Well, I think, she's thumbed her nose one too many times at Ashley Merchant. And by the way, if to ask her about something in the YSL when you have her on.
Okay.
Her client, Martinez Arnold, was supposed to be a witness.
Right.
He goes by Duke. And I think it's pretty clear. And by the way, his testimony was pretty relevant to the remaining defendants, because my client was involved with something with Martinez Arnold that came into our case. So, I was really surprised they didn't bring him, but I don't think they wanted any piece of Ashley Merchant. Honest to God.
That's powerful. Yeah, that is powerful.
Ask her about that.
Okay. Yeah, because when we last talked to her, because it was still dangling, and she said, I haven't heard a word, from anybody. And then it was soon after that it was cleared up that he wasn't going to be called. So.
Mess with Ashley and find out.
Well, I call her Fonnie's worst nightmare. So,
yeah,
I think it's as great a job as all the other lawyers did, and as Steve Sadow and everyone else did. She is single-handedly, I guess she and with her husband's help, maybe, responsible for derailing that case against President Trump. So he should, appoint her to ambassador to Luxembourg or something like that.
Well, I can't wait to see what the rest unfolds, because they still have where's the money gone? Fonnie Willis kind of used some money to take care of Nathan Wade. I want answers to that mess.
I want to know where the watch is still. People are always
watch. Everybody wants to know where the watch is. What's your best guess?
My son-in-law was wearing that same watch at the Hawks game that night. The exact same watch, but I was assured by my daughter that he had that watch before it disappeared.
Wow.
And
so what's your best guess?
How many people knew how to pronounce it by the time you were finished?
I still don't.
Richard Millet.
I took German in high school, and then I studied Chinese, or learned Mandarin later. So my Romance language pronunciation is poor, and French is probably the worst of all. So
the problem is I can't even afford to say the name of the watch.
There you go. They will charge you if you say that watch.
That's right. So I got to ask though, what's your best guess? Where is the watch?
Somebody in that law enforcement chain of custody has that watch somewhere between.
Been misplaced somewhere.
Somewhere between Investigator Viverito and property is where that watch is. Is where that watch went missing. There's no way, I believe, that watch was nobody can believe that watch was left on the shelf, right? It just, you took the ring off his finger, but you left a $500,000 watch on the shelf. Come on.
Yep, it's captured the attention.
I was talking to somebody who's an art expert today, and he's been in a number of trials, and he said, in the art world, you can't pawn these things anymore. They become so high profile, you can't pawn them. They just, no one's going to take them. No buyer is going to take them. You
Yeah.
can't sell them unless they're, you can't sell them. That's what everyone wants. So it's kind of interesting if it ever turns up.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I didn't have the serial number to publicize that, but obviously there are only a few hundred of these watches, and they're serialized. So,
Are there
we'll see.
knockoffs of this kind of watch? Are there, like you'd find down on
I
Canal
would,
Street?
having spent a good deal of time in the alleyways of Hong Kong and Shenzhen, I would in Pudong, I would think that there are knockoffs of this watch.
Yeah, I'm going to check out. I'm going to go to Canal Street and check that out.
In Canal Street, do they do the thing they do in China, which is this is a knockoff Rolex, but genuine Seiko movement.
I've not heard that. I've not.
Oh,
in
yeah.
fact, I've not heard them admit much of anything in terms.
yeah.
They just were selling you this watch,
Genuine Seiko movement.
Oh well, in that case, let me
I'm not
have
buying that.
Yeah,
All right, guys.
sir. Thanks again, as always. We will be checking in with you, see how the caseload's going, see what other interesting stuff you're involved with.
Thank you. I've got an interesting case in Liberty County come, I don't know when, maybe spring or summer. We can talk then.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
that sounds good. And anytime you want to talk about another case in the news, we want your considered opinion, As I said,
All right.
if you get the call, if you get the ring from Pennsylvania, let us know.
I'll let you know. You guys take care.
Thanks. Take
Good
care,
night.
buddy. Always fun.
He's wonderful.
So,
He's wonderful. And everybody
is,
in our chat loves him. Everybody loves him. Interesting how when we mentioned, we should talk a little bit more about the case in the news.
Want to
in
pick up some loose
Pennsylvania.
ends on that since
Yeah,
got a minute?
only because our chat did kind of go a little bit crazy here, and I don't mean crazy in the sense you guys are nuts. I mean like their comments started about experiences that everyone has had with healthcare.
Yeah, with the healthcare. Yeah. It's a nightmare for folks. Obviously, again, not justifying what this person may have done or whomever killed Mr. Thompson, but the frustration is real. And if you have a condition, an injury, a disease that requires treatment or medication you can't afford, and you're living with pain every day, you can become more than frustrated and do something desperate.
Yeah, no, it's just I mean even the stuff I know when I had my double hip replacement done, right? And they decided not to pay some of the stuff, and the reason why is because it was a double hip replacement done at the same time, and yet it was cheaper because they were done at the same time. So they only had one operating room, one anesthesiologist, one of everything, and they said, yeah, but that doesn't really matter here. We have algorithms. At that point,
Yeah,
it wasn't AI, it was
where they get
algorithm, So, I mean, and then you keep fighting and appealing it, but you just get the same, and you give up and you say, the heck with it, the heck with it. Okay, I'll take the payment plan.
Yeah, and that's what, I think it hurts legitimate healthcare providers as well, because they're caught in the middle. They're the one that does the work. They're with you. They see you. They put up with you. And if they're getting cheated on the insurance side, they're suffering as well. So, and then if you do I'll just I'll do the payment plan, or what I've been known to do in the past, I just stiff them. I say, why don't you sue me for that? We're talking about,
that's good.
We're talking about small amounts of money, $100, $500, $600. I'm doing that because of the insurance company, not because of the healthcare provider. It's
my dog Tubi is by the
he
way.
Obviously had some problems with a vet.
Obviously, yes. I here comes Sean. I did crazy lovingly, because I mean, I don't blew up. The chat blew up. Okay, but yeah, look at this. Katie weighs in about an ICU, right? This. It's just so it's interesting. It's truly interesting how this is going to play out. But not that we're condoning anyone be killed. I mean, obviously the system has to change before we start murdering everybody on the streets of New York.
Yeah, let's hope we haven't gone that far down the road. Here's another beef I have since you brought it up. There's this pretend cost system now in an insurance business, right? And they inflate the cost of whatever it may be. I mean, everything, because they know the insurance company then has their approved amount for whatever it may be. So if you want to get the max approved amount, then you say the cost of the service is $300 because they're going to whittle it down to $200. That's all they're going to pay. Usually the healthcare provider then just ignores the rest. They don't pass that on to the patient. But it's a game that makes no sense. Here's
And
what we're going to
terrible.
charge you because we know the insurance company is only going to pay down here.
Right. And then you'll be responsible for
I
the
don't
rest.
remember that in Econ 101.
I'll tell you what a mess. And I guess what you're seeing is the frustration, and that's why he's become like a folk hero, unlike the Unabomber, who's apparently his folk hero. But he executed somebody in the middle of the street.
No,
Now I'm not
that's just
saying
sick. It's just sick for people to put him in any and to make that penny comparison, other than the fact they're the same age, is really twisted.
except that he may not be guilty of first-degree murder if he's got this mental disease or defect, or he's been so damaged mentally, and so that's where people have to let this play out and see what happens here. I just know he'll have a good defense. He'll have a good defense team if he is the one that did it. We simply don't know at this point. He's presumed innocent right now.
Presumed innocent, even to the moment he sits there in trial. But cloaked with innocence that who knows if it's going to get blown away or not. We don't really have the forensics yet. We have basically ID. That's what we have. We have ID. So okay.
Okay. I hope he's not being judged because his name is Luigi Mangione. My people. My name is Benincasa. My family is from Italy. My grandfather actually witnessed the murder by the mafia. He was my grandfather was a tailor with a big knife and big scissors and all that kind of stuff. And so my mother would always talk about it, how as this is passed down, how her father would always say, the murderer grabbed their father and said, "Giuseppe, you didn't see anything, did you?" And that was the way it was back then, But it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary. But that's when the mafia was like dealing with people in the mafia. So if you were non-mafia, you were safe. If
you were connected to a made man of some sort.
Yeah, watch a little movie called The Godfather. It's now 50 years
old. A little
old.
movie called The Godfather. Yeah, I think I've heard something about it. Maybe Goodfellas. There's a real romance with that, which causes, in the real world causes some issues because people get romanticized about, some pretty horrible behavior, criminal and otherwise.
The Sopranos.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, the mafia sells. Okay. And so, so we'll see what happens here. But yes, he is presumed innocent. And we're going to be covering this, right, Michael? We're going to be covering this.
I'm working on, because we do believe he's going to go to trial. We're working on credentials to get that set up. So can I just change the name from the Penny trial to change the name on my credential?
And I'm going to keep walking the scene because they're going to have a scene walk. I mean, it's a block from here. I think you all had it as members. We had it early. Now it's on as little episodes, right? My scene walk, and I'll do more of the scene walk. Not tomorrow because we have pouring rain tomorrow here in New York City. But we'll keep up with it and see who's there. And you know that once he gets attorneys, there'll be private investigators there. There's going to be people walking the scene. There's going to be all sorts of things happening a block from my office.
Yeah, so let's talk about what's going to happen with him more immediately. They're not, as his attorney said, it's been misreported that they're fighting extradition, and that's not true. They're just not waiving extradition, which is there's a difference there. You got to go through a process. They're just not waiving it, but fighting it is a different story. So it's going to still be 30 days, give or take, before he makes his way to New York, in all likelihood, unless there's some change in their attitude at some point. But you mentioned earlier,
I've suggested a deal.
Now, I don't know what jail he's in, but it ain't Rikers. So as long as you can stay out of Rikers, why not?
Why not? Or as Serena Townsend, who's been on the show as a guest host, said, protective custody. But that would be a Hansfeld thing. But Rikers is you talk about Rice in Fulton County, and then you've got Rikers in New York. I mean, there's no picnic. People get stabbed. People get killed. It's nothing. And I try to make a deal that he gets put someplace else. Look, Pennsylvania put him in a state prison to protect him, in a state prison than a local jail. So. It can be done. It can be done, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it unfolds. I expect there's going to be a lot. I mean, there's so much going on right now with, his background and people going to his high school where, he hasn't been for, 8 years. This is one of those stories that everybody's trying to dig under every rock and find out what they can, primarily because they want to know why, right?
Right. Now I did a little head knock. I did that little head knock because Rhonda said that Reed's Sin City, she's a Calabrese. So am I. Okay, 100%.
Yeah. Is that
beautiful location?
Where is that?
It's way down in the boot, in the bottom of the boot, in the
boot.
heel.
Okay.
In the heel. Well, it's a boot, but it's way down there. Now it's a beautiful resort, the beautiful resort towns. When my grandparents emigrated to here, I said, why? Is it because we were starving? It was like they ran a stagecoach with stagecoaches in the 1900s, and it was rocks. I had nothing to eat. So interesting. It's just really interesting how things
And they have such good food in Italy. What are you talking about? Back then, not so good.
It's only rocks. Yeah. So, thank you, Rhonda. We have a little bit of a simpatico going on here. All right. Yes, by the heel. Absolutely. That's exactly where it is.
Okay.
Okay.
I spent some time in
Maybe
Italy.
that's why I like. Maybe that's why I like.
The Italian Riviera to Genova and to Milano, and then down to I covered. Remember this? You might remember this story. Covered the story of the Cobb missing groom. Do you remember that? He was on
Yes, I do remember that.
ship.
Right. Yeah,
I covered that when I was with A Current Affair, and so I went to, among other places, to Fiore. How do you pronounce it? Fiorenza?
Valley
Florence.
Oh, you went to Firenze. You didn't go to Valley
Went to
Firenze.
Fiorenza, and I went to Pisa, and then there's a port city that I can't remember the name of, but that's where the ship was called the Millennium, I think it was, and so it actually came into port there. But I went to Kushadasi, Turkey, which was where the ship was heading when he whoop. A lot of people think either Russian mobsters threw him over because of a gambling situation, or he got just drunk and fell off, because it happens a lot on these cruise ships. People just get drunk and over.
Right.
But it was a crazy trip. But I did get to enjoy quite a bit of Italy as we were looking for the missing groom.
Yeah, well, that's interesting, but you never got down to my people's, and I don't
where
know where
Sicily and
no, Calabria,
and the
down, way down.
I didn't
Maybe
get to
that's
the
why I
boot.
like heels. It's in the heel. Maybe that's why I like high heels, because maybe it's in my genetic thing. But no, he's got a lot of. They said that he's found with a lot of stuff. He didn't ditch the gun. Apparently, he didn't ditch.
Well, we don't know yet if
He
that's
has-
the gun. It's a gun. We don't know if it's the gun.
They said according to, according to the warrant. Let's see if this could be it. The officer. This is the arrest warrant. Okay, it's online. I think I don't know if I posted it or not. No, it's online. I think I did post it to my personal Twitter at Kenny Bodden on X Twitter. Okay,
and so what are you gleaning from that?
Patrolman Christy Wasser, badge 250, found a semi-automatic pistol with what appears to be a 3D printed loaded receiver with a metal slide and silencer, and written admissions about the crime. I don't know if the written admissions about the crime were on the pistol, or that's like comma and written admissions about the crime, or it should be no comma. There was written admissions about the crime.
I mean, how likely is he to have two guns? I don't know. We don't know yet.
Especially 3D. I don't know.
Yeah. So again, it's still one of those many questions that people are kind of filling in the blanks on, and we just don't know. We don't know yet.
And I wonder where he got the name Mark Rosario for the driver's license, or was that just somebody? Did he make that
or
up?
Mark Rosario.
Of Maplewood, right? Yes, I don't know where it is, but we're going to try to probably take a deep dive into this as this is going, as trials during the Christmas holidays don't really go very.
No, we're about ready to hit the skids on most of these cases, and we've learned already that some from the 1st of January have been nudged a little bit, like Karen Reed into April, which was by mutual agreement with prosecution and defense. But that's not unusual, and to see stuff get pushed just a little bit. It seems the court systems have trouble getting, chugging along again after the first of the year. But they will.
We do have stuff. We do have stuff coming up this week and next week, Michael. Besides following this case, Luigi Mangione, male 26. Besides following that, what else we have, Michael?
I have no idea. Oh,
well, we have Ashley Merchant.
Yeah, we have Ashley tomorrow, and we'll figure out what that's. She just, you can't. Fani seems to think you just can't beat her. Even if the court says something, she doesn't care. It's unbelievable to me how bold she is, how arrogant she is. Although after seeing her, testify in court, maybe it shouldn't be a surprise. But you lost. Is it so important? Is whatever's in the material she will not turn over? It is so incriminating. That's my only assumption. It is so incriminating. She would just as soon ignore the court order than turn it over.
Right.
So what's happening now in the back room? Things are getting destroyed so that truly aren't going to be turned over. It just makes you wonder what she's up to.
So we have that going. We have a Karen Reed update that we're going to be doing.
You can do that.
Because
Yeah, a
there's
couple of
bunch
things flying
motions.
back and forth there. Remember, there was a fight about the expert in the case. This is the expert that said that there was no contact between Mr. O'Keefe and the car. They want to get that expert tossed. That ruling just came down. It was denied, by the way. But we want to get into all of that.
I missed that. Thank you for telling me. That's
Yeah,
why
it
I have
was
to watch the
just
show.
today. I think. You should watch Justice Served. We'll fill you in on that stuff. Yeah, so that was just denied. So the prosecution is doing everything they can to keep this alive. We used to think, here's how dumb I am. I used to think after the way the first one unfolded that they would just back off and just plea out on some sort of high level misdemeanor, low level felony, no time served, and just end it. But no. They've fortified, and so it's going to be another. Can I say the legal term shit show when it actually happens? And I think it's been moved to April now.
Yeah, and then of course we have Luigi. The 23rd, December 23rd, is going to be the hearing on the extradition, and we'll see whether or not it's just going to be a hearing where they have to prove. All they have to do is prove that he could have been in New York at the time that the crime was committed. We'll see whether he fights it, whether there's a deal, or what happens then. So we have a lot going on before Christmas, but we want to give you some chance next week to do your Christmas or holiday or whatever you celebrate, shopping. I mean, the operative word there is shopping. For me.
Yeah. So it's non-denominational for you? It's just,
every single day of the year.
All right. Well, we'll see. There is other stuff going on that we will get into, but that's it for now. I'm exhausted. So we're going to do Ashley tomorrow, but then we'll get that out there as soon as we can. And we'll go.
And probably something Friday, right?
Something.
Something. We'll let you know. But you know what? To let you know, there has to be something that happened. But before that happens, Michael has a piece of advice. Before I give you advice about how you can let us know when we're on.
Yeah, well, this would be my normal salutation, and that would be try to do the right thing.
And, if you like us, we're Justice Served TV. That's Michael Bryant, by the way. I'm Linda Kenny Bodden. And please subscribe, like, share, and hit that notify button. And we will see you tomorrow.